Alright, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking another look at my Blood Summoner build. Recently, as I've been leveling, there have been a few times where I started to struggle with this build, and as a result I went ahead and tried a few other builds, the Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion build. I stay with the minion builds because, you know, I feel like if I'm going to play a necromancer, I'm going to have minions. That's just part of playing the necromancer for me. So every build that I have tried, I've been using the minions. So, yeah, I tried the Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion build, and that worked, you know, pretty good. I've been trying Bone or Blood Lance recently, and that build felt pretty good as well. And so I've been bouncing back and forth between this build, the Bone Spear build, and the Blood Lance build lately, and something weird was happening for me in that I was seeing a lot higher damage numbers out of the Bone Spear build and the Blood Lance build. The Bone Spear I was critting for over 100,000 damage. The Blood Lance build, there have been a few times where I saw like 180,000 damage in one hit. So that got me to thinking, though, with those abilities doing that much damage, it didn't really feel like I was clearing content as fast or doing as much, really, any more damage. So I decided I wanted to dive into that and figure out why. And it all comes down to one item, and we'll take a look at it here. It's Deathspeaker's Pendant. So this makes it to where Blood Surge casts a mini nova on your minions, dealing, well, my roll is 606. The roll says 466 to 699, so I got a decent roll out of it. So a mini nova cast on your minions, dealing that much damage. And damage is increased by 10% per target drained by the initial cast up to 50%. So this item is, you know, well, if you're playing Blood Surge, it's got the blood skill damage on it, it's got summoning skill damage, and it's got overpower damage on the item. The roll I've got here is not really all that good of a roll. Ideally, I would have wanted 3 ranks of Coalesce Blood, because each rank of that is another 6% blood skill damage. So 3 ranks of that would have been, you know, amazing. And the overpower damage, I mean, if I could have gotten a max roll on that, really all of these rolls that I got on this item are low. You know, I didn't get all that lucky in the way this item rolled. But that's not really what's important about it. So the problem with it is the way Blood Surge does its damage, it's all at once. You know, you cast your Blood Surge and there's numbers popping up all around you all at once, and then they're gone. There's so many numbers, in fact, that they're covering each other up and makes it really hard to read. So it's really hard to tell how much damage you're actually doing with this build. Usually, I think the highest number I will see from Blood Surge, though, is 50,000 damage. But that is, you know, really, really misleading. And so what I did was I came into a Helltide, and I played for like 10 minutes with the Blood Lance build. And then I played for 10 minutes with my Blood Surge build. And just to, have a direct comparison side by side. Pretty much the same enemies, all that kind of stuff. Just to make sure that I wasn't crazy. And it turns out that I wasn't crazy. So I've got a few pictures that I have pulled out of this footage to show you, just to give you an idea of what's actually happening. So we'll take a look at those. And there we go. There's the first one. Now, my character is actually right here, but you'll see there's a 21,000, a 20,000, a 20,000 over here, and this is an overpowered crit. This is overpowered crit damage that you're seeing here from the mini nova around my minions. And you can see the circles kind of around each of the minions a little bit. It all overlaps to the point where it's actually really hard to see. But in this case, with the minions all spread out, it actually makes it easier to see the different damage numbers and see what's actually happening. So that's the first one. Let's see. Here's the second one I've got. It's the same sort of deal where my minions are spread out all over, fighting different monsters all over the screen. So you get a little bit better view of what's actually happening. Unfortunately, in this picture, I was not able to find my actual damage. So I've got a third picture here that should show it a little better. Alright, so this is the third picture I've got. And if you look right here, in the orange number here is 52,310. That's about the maximum damage I will see out of Blood Surge when I cast it. That's the biggest number that I'm seeing. But what I wasn't realizing was how many other numbers were being covered up when I would cast this ability, especially like on the boss of a dungeon where all my minions are packed up right on top of the boss, and when I cast it, it's just like a blur. It's really hard to actually see how much damage there is. So feel free to pause this and count the numbers if you want, but I've already done it, and this is from one cast of Blood Surge, is what I want you to realize. And after you're done counting, I came up with over 500,000 damage from this one cast. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So maybe the biggest number I'm seeing is 50,000, but overall, the damage from one ability cast is way higher than any of the other builds I've been using. So, I mean, it is a little hard to get around and figure out what's actually happening when you're using this item with the Blood Surge build, but it is truly impressive. So I'm currently running 12 minions on my build, and this is what's actually happening that you normally can't see when you're playing. I had to actually record the footage and pause it and, try and find a good example of how much damage is actually going out from this build. So with that being said, that's really all I wanted to showcase on the gameplay and what's actually happening. I'll go ahead and take a look at the build for you, just in case you didn't see my earlier video about this. But just think about that, over 500,000 damage from one cast. I mean, that's insane. So that's without the Ring of Mendel also. So I don't actually have that. So we'll take a look at the weapon. Blood Surge's Nova echoes again after a short delay, dealing 64% less damage. This is basically just a 36% damage increase for free from this one item. So I went ahead and put that one on there. I'm running eluding aspect. Becoming injured while crowd controlled grants you unstoppable for 4 seconds. The embalmer aspect, consuming a corpse, has a 27% chance to spawn a blood orb. This is going to help you keep yourself healthy and get, the most damage out of your blood surge as you can. On this one, Frenzied Dead, each time one of your summoning minions damages an enemy, they gain 14% attack speed, up to 42% just for my minions. Maximum number of skeletal mages is increased by 2. Every 10 seconds, your cold skeletal mages cast a blizzard that deals 1700. I mean, yeah, more for my minions. I'm running the Deathspeaker's Pendant, of course. Unyielding, while Army of the Dead is active, your minions gain 97% attack speed and 90% reduced damage taken. And Band of Reanimation, your skeletons gain increased damage while alive up to 30% after 10 seconds. So 30% damage increase from my minions at all times. And the maximum number of skeletal warriors is increased by 2. So what you want to look for on your stats on your gear, on a shield or a focus, you want maximum minion life, minion attack speed. That's all good. And cooldown reduction if you can get it. As you can see, I haven't managed to get that on this. On your rings, you can get damage to crowd-controlled enemies. We're using Decrepify, so everything should be crowd-controlled all the time. Maximum minion life is good to have. Resource generation is okay. And critical strike chance is good, Same thing on the other ring. I went for pretty much the same things. On your weapon, you can use a dagger, which will give you damage to close enemies. But since I have the Deathspeaker's Pendant, I've decided to go with the sword, which just increases the critical strike damage. You want overpower damage, damage to slowed, damage to crowd controlled. Core skill damage is really good. Any of those will work really well. I've got a ruby in the socket for more overpower damage as well. On your boots, movement speed. I'm not real sure what else you can get on this. I think you can get overpower damage on your boots as well, but I haven't managed to find that. On your pants, you can get maximum minion life, damage reduction while fortified, and damage reduction. Those are all good things to have. You could also have ranks of blood mist from your pants. On your gloves, ranks of blood surge is the biggest thing there. Attack speed is good. I've got a lucky hit, chance to heal 1,000 life. I mean, that's fine. Chest piece, maximum minion life, blood skill damage. You could also, if you were really lucky, manage to get summoning skill damage on your chest piece as well. So that would be really good to have for this build. On your headpiece, life on kill, healing received, cooldown reduction, and armor. I mean, those are pretty decent. Not sure what else you could get on that would be better. I'm running skulls in my jewelry sockets to increase armor. I'm running rubies in the rest of my armor for the increased maximum life. So we'll take a look at the Book of the Dead. I'm running Skeletal Warrior Reapers with the chance to form a corpse. I'm running Skeletal Mages that are cold, so I get essence from their primary attacks. I'm running the Golem The Iron Golem, where his slam attack makes enemies vulnerable. This is the only source of vulnerable damage I have on this build right now. As far as the tree goes, I've got a point in hemorrhage and enhanced hemorrhage. I don't even use these anymore, but you have to put 2 points in to get to your core skills. 5 out of 5 in Blood Surge, Enhanced Blood Surge, and Paranormal Blood Surge. This Paranormal Blood Surge is really good, don't get me wrong, but when you're reading this, don't get excited. If there are 5 enemies around you and you cast Blood Surge, it's not going to give you 5 stacks from one cast. It's not going to happen. You're going to get 1 stack of overwhelming blood per cast. So every 6th cast, you're going to get a guaranteed overpower. I've got 1 point in Blood Mist, 1 point in Enhanced Blood Mist, and Dreadful Blood Mist for Fortify. 3 out of 3 Skeletal Warrior Mastery. 3 out of 3 Grim Harvest. 3 out of 3 Fueled by Death. Because the way I'm running this build, I don't have a basic skill, so all of my essence generation is coming from my skeletal mages and raised skeleton. So definitely important to have these. I have 3 out of 3 amplify damage because everything on this that you're attacking should have a curse on it. I'm using Decrepify as well as Enhanced Decrepify and Abhorrent Decrepify because we want the cooldown reduction from all these minions attacking targets. So it might just be a 15% chance to reduce your active cooldown, but with 12 minions and myself, I mean that ends up being a pretty decent chance. I've got a 60-second cooldown on Army of the Dead, and it is never that long. It's usually 30 to 40 seconds. 3 out of 3 in Skeletal Mage Mastery. And then I came down to the next one, 3 out of 3 in Necrotic Carapace. 1 out of 3 in Gruesome Mending, just to get to the next tier. I only took 1 out of 3 in Transfusion, just because my minions don't die. I'm casting Raised Skeleton all the time. They're not really having a hard... I'm not having a hard time keeping my minions alive because of that, but a little bit of extra healing for every time I pick up a blood orb. 3 out of 3 Coalesce Blood. While healthy, your blood skills deal 18% increased damage. 3 out of 3 in Drain Vitality. Hitting enemies with blood skills has a 25% chance to fortify you for 8% base life, so yeah, more fortify. And blood skills deal 15% increased overpower damage with Tides of Blood, so definitely recommend that one. And that's where that point went. I was wondering what was going on there. I had an extra point when I went back to this build and couldn't figure out where it went. Alright, next part, Army of the Dead, Prime Army of the Dead, and Supreme Army of the Dead. 3 out of 3 Inspiring Leader, 3 out of 3 Hellbent Commander, 3 out of 3 Bonded in Essence, and 1 out of 3 Death's Defense. And then the key passive is Kalen's Edict. For my Paragon board, this is going to be fun. Alright, so for the Paragon board, on the first board, I picked up Control for the Glyph socket. 67% damage to crowd controlled enemies. I mean, that's really good. And it counts for you and your minions. So, all good there. The next board that I picked, where's the legendary note? It's right there, Cult Leader. Your minions deal 15% increased damage for each minion type you have. I have all 3 types, so 45% increased minion damage. So this is the minion damage board, and the glyph I put in it was Dead Razor, which works really nicely in this board because it increases the Paragon nodes within range gain 76% bonus to their minion damage and damage reduction modifiers. So like all of these up here that I have picked up, they get an increased effect from having this glyph in this spot. Same on the damage reduction. Alright, the next board I picked up was what? Sin of Death. With at least 2 corpses nearby, you gain 15% damage reduction. You're almost always going to have the 2 corpses. This is almost always going to be the damage reduction instead of the 15% increased damage. Still, this board, yeah, it's 15% damage reduction is pretty good. I put Amplify in this glyph socket. Enemies affected by curse skills take 10% increased damage from you and your minions. So, all good there. The last board I have picked up is Bloodbath, and I am not anywhere close to having everything I want in this board, but once I get to it, attacks that are guaranteed to overpower deal 50% increased overpower damage, and that's going to be really good. So that's all I've got on the build. Be sure to leave me a like, comment, subscribe, or just leave me a comment telling me what you think about this build. However, I will say that once you get the Deathspeaker's pendant, this build becomes a lot better. A lot better. I don't even know what number you would put on it, honestly. Is it 10 times better, or 5 times better? I have no idea. But leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. I was shocked with this. I really wanted to update my video on this build since I got this item and let y'all see how well it performed. So that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you in the next one.